actually in statistics, what do we have? We have two major things here. First thing is about the probabilities. Another thing is about making inferences, which we usually call that to be making decisions. So in probability, what one does is they predict about the future events. That means how much chances are there for a certain event to occur in future. That is the major thing that we do in probability, right? However, in this inference section, what we do, firstly, we make decisions regarding several things, right? So suppose a large group, so our aim here is to study about this portion, making inferences out of the statistical data that we have. So we'll focus over here in this particular course, right? So moving on to this, we'll start by a larger set. So this is some set having various quantities, entities within it. It may have certain objects within it, right? So this is a very large set. So now these could be objects, these could be people. So this set could be of anything, right? So we usually call this to be the population. Now in your dictionary, population has everything to do about people, right? For example, the population of a particular country is this much, or a particular city is this much. But in the statistics, what we do, we say a collection of a large, and in fact a very large collection of people or objects to be the population, right? So what we do here, we take a particular group out of this population, we take a smaller portion out of this population, we call that smaller portion to be to be the sample, and what we do, we make inferences, we do calculations about the sample, and we make predictions about this whole population. So that is the funda here. So basically, let me give you an example first, so it will be more clear to you. Suppose in our university, the head of department gave me a task that you go to BTech class, like all branches, and give me the performance of students from that class. Now, to me, this task is a difficult one. Why? Because the task has been assigned to me just an hour ago, right? And I don't have so much time to go and access each of the students, because there are various students in the BTech class, right? If I talk about 1 year only. So what I may do, I can, from this BTech branch, we have various from this course we have various branches like Cs, right? CSE and electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and so on, right? So we have various branches. So what I can do, I could so let me call the students of C. These are the students of C. These are the students of CSE, right? These are the students of E, electrical engineering, and then we have students of mechanical engineering, so on. So what I can do, I can take a smaller portion of students out of this whole students. So I may take some students from CE, some students from electrical engineering, some from CSE, and some from mechanical engineering. say. So this is my sample, and this was my population. So I have defined the population to be the course, the students which are studying this BTech course, and the sample would be some students out of these branches, right? So now there is one subject which is known as sampling theory. So in this sampling theory, what people do, they study how to make this sample, because this sample should may or not always be a very good approximation to this population, right? So you cannot this could not be the best sample in the usual sense. So basically I may end up selecting a sample where I only have students from civil, right? So that creates a problem here. That means my sample would be a poor sample. So how to check out a sample which may represent your population in a clear manner? So that is given by sampling theory. So that is another story over there. So we'll not go right now into the details of the sampling theory. In fact, I'm telling you how to make decisions. So our focus here, our aim here is to check the performance of students in a limited period of time. So what I am going to do as a teacher over here, I am going to apply statistics here. So how? From this large set of students of BTech course, I am going to select a sample. Now from the sample, I am going to make calculations. So how I will make calculation? So my aim now is to judge the performance of students. So for that, what I can do, out of say 50 students, I may select as a sample 5 students. So now it would be very easy to access or to judge about 5 students rather than about 50 students in a limited amount of time. So what I do, I will ask these 5 students, what are your marks in the previous classes? So that is one criteria for me for judging, marks in the previous class. Another criteria could be, I'll give you a test to check your logic, and I can also give you a test to check your IQ. So depending on these 3 things, I will judge about these 5 students. So I can take out the mean, variance and everything. So based on this sample, I will make a decision about the population, that the majority of the students in this BTech course would be so and so, based on my observations here. So you see how my task has been reduced in evaluating 50 students to 5 students. Obviously this is not the exact thing. That means I cannot exactly say the 50 students could be like these 5 students. However, I may have an estimate for these 50 students by just evaluating these 5 students, right? So this is my agenda over here. Okay, so here the 2 main subjects under this category that we are going to study, one is the testing of hypothesis, where we will give a statement and we will check whether that statement is correct or not. So that comes under this testing of hypothesis. And another thing that we'll do is design of experiments. So in short, we have started from statistics. Instead of talking about probabilities right now, we'll focus on this making inferences about various things, and then thereafter in this we have 2 things. Actually we have 3 things. One is this sampling theory, which we are not discussing right now, how to select a appropriate sample, but our focus would be, for the time being, we assume that the sample we have is good enough to trust, right? So we'll focus on this testing of hypothesis as of now, right? So in this testing of hypothesis, So based on the sample size, the sample size, we have two categories. One is you have large sample.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, your screen is...
Okay, so based on the sample size, we can have these two categories. One is the large sample test and one is the small sample test. So based on that, when can we call our sample to be large? So it is a standard thing that whenever your number of elements which are present in the sample, they are greater than equal to 30, then you call your sample to be the large sample. Otherwise, when the number is less than 30, then you call your sample to be the small sample. So based on this thing, you have for large sample you have this Z test. For small sample you have three tests. One is this T test, one is F test, and one is this chi-square test. So we will be discussing all these tests in later on, right?